What's good, everybody? It's your boy Brandon Scott with my dude, the real Ed Oliver. Today is Mailbag, episode number 1. We're going to talk about is Rui Hachimura still on the trade block, or could we re-sign both Rui and Kyle Kuzma? Let's talk about it next on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's good, Wiz Nation? Again, this is your boy Brandon Scott again with my dude, the real Ed Oliver. Thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. So, got a lot of comments and questions. Today is Mailbag. Let's get into it. Now, the first question I'm going to touch upon was from a viewer that asked, is Rui Hachimura still on the trade block? So, E, do you envision Rui, especially with his performances after the Knicks trade to Phoenix, do you still see him being shopped around, or do you think now with his recent performance, is he a long-term solution to DC?
Yeah, I do. I don't know for sure. I don't have any sources or anything like that. But I do think he is, if I just had to guess. I mean, I think, of course, the cliche where there's smoke, there's fire. But, to have your name brought up to be traded for Jay Crowder, and now I saw a report that the Miami Heat, they're only interested in getting Jay Crowder if there's a buyout for Jay Crowder. But that was really bad on Tommy Shepard's part. I'm very happy that James Jones, the Suns GM, he rejected that trade. I'm thankful for that because that would have been an awful trade. And Rui, ever since the trade rumors, he's played really, really well. He's been on a tear, 30 points one game, 25 points one game. He's been really good off the bench. He's like one of the league leaders in double digits off the bench. I think pretty soon he'll become a 6 man of the year candidate. And then if Bradley Beal is going to be out a couple more games, I think there's going to be more playing time and more shots for Rui as well. So that's going to help him out. But I think his trade value has definitely gone up. But I think Tommy Shepard, man, he played his cards, he played his hand. He showed that he really is looking to move on from Rui, and that he's probably not going to pay him in the offseason. Now, with Rui playing well, maybe Tommy may reconsider. And if Kuz really doesn't want to come back, then you may lean to trying to bring Rui back, instead of, Tommy maybe looking at trying to keep a big three or a solid three around with Kyle Kuzma. But yeah, to answer the question, I don't know for sure. But I think Tommy still really wants to make a move. And I really hope it's for something better than just Jay Crowder. I hope they get back a pick. I don't know if they'll get a first round pick. It's really hard to determine Rui's value right now because he's playing really good ball. The only thing is just, he's been out. I forgot which injury he had this year. And then it was a bone bruise. He had a bone bruise. He was out and missed a good amount of games. Then last year, of course, he missed 40 games because of personal reasons. Then he was out with a groin injury in his career. Then he had conjunctivitis. So he's really missed time. I think that's the biggest knock on him. And then we talk about, tunnel vision, not passing the ball. That's just not a part of his game. Defense, I think he's starting to improve on the defensive side of the ball. So it's really hard to gauge his trade value because, like I said, he's been out. And I just want to see him be consistent. And I think he's finally finding his real role in the game, in the league, is being a 6 man coming off the bench and just scoring. Do your thing, worry about scoring. That's what you're good at. I do want to see him rebound the ball more. But I think he's found his real skill is just scoring and coming off the bench. I think that's the best role on this team. Maybe, he has started in the league before, but I still have a feeling that Tommy wants to trade him. I really do. I think where there's smoke, there's fire. I think he really wants to make a move with Rui before the trade deadline.
To me, that's a hard question, man, because what is the goal? What is the vision for this team? If we're going to build around Bill and we're going to try to contend, then yeah, you got to move him. Especially if there's a chance that you can bring Kuz back. Now, if you can't, there's reports that, maybe Kuz is going to Phoenix and John Collins coming to DC, which we both agree that's a lateral move. But, really, I mean, if you're going to rebuild, I would bring him back and try to at least get him better defensively and really work on that value. Like you said, he's a 3-level scorer, man. He can score. I mean, look, Carmelo Anthony made a career of scoring and not playing defense, so it's possible. But I like his talent. I like his fire. I like his energy. I like him as a player. Just it really goes off the vision. And it's tough to say because you haven't heard Bradley Beal say he wants to be traded, so he's here. He's the max guy. He's the franchise guy. He's here. Kuz, you haven't heard from Kuz really what he wants to do, but there's not a lot of traction when it comes to extension talk right now with him. And you haven't heard much about KP and what his desire is going forward. So if I'm the general manager, I gotta start looking at steps I'm going to take going into the future, man, because there's a lot of uncertainty. We're hinging on the hopes that KP maybe wants to come back. We're hinging on the hopes that Kuz really maybe wants to come back, and I'm just not one of those guys that really wants to go off hope. You know what I mean? Especially when you're dealing with his, a basketball team, man. You gotta have some concrete, steps in place. So it's tough. Now, with this recent performance, you best believe teams are looking at him, and it's gonna be you're gonna get a little more than Jay Crowder, man. I mean, if he continues to play like this, you could very well get a first-round pick. But if it's me, and he may be the way to get a starting point guard. I mean, if you could package Rui with maybe Monte Morris, you may be able to get a starting caliber point guard. So, I mean, it's a hard question, man, because anytime you talk about going to the future, whether it's rebuilding or building around Bill, it's just we really don't know what their vision is because this team could lose the next 7 games, and that changes a lot of people's minds. And you just don't know where Kuzma and KP's heads at. So I would like him to stick around, and we're going to talk about maybe in a potential scenario involving an extension. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's tough to really answer that because I don't know where the vision is. Like I said, if we're going to build around Bill, then I'm probably trying to package him in the deal and try to get a point guard because, we both said Monte ain't the dude. And Monte, maybe a 6-man, but really, do you really want Monte taking away minutes from Jordan Goodwin or DeLon Wright? I don't. So he may very well be on the chopping block too. And, I don't know how many teams are really looking at Will Barton, but, with that salary he's making, he can also be a salary filler in a deal. So, yeah, if they, make a long answer cut short, if they're indeed trying to build around Bill, then I'm going to package Rui. I'm going to try to get a point guard, man.
Yeah, and just looking at Rui's numbers, when he came back from the injury, December 23rd against the Kings, he had 21. The win against Philly, he had 14. The win against Phoenix, he had 30. The win against Orlando, he had 16. The win against the Bucks, he had 26. So, yeah, he's really been playing good ball, man. He's really playing his role, and that's what he's best at. And like you said, I think ever since he came back from the injury, his trade value is definitely better than Jay Crowder. I think that's really disrespectful to the Wizards. I mean, it's really disrespectful to Rui, and it's really disrespectful to the organization, too. If you only get Jay Crowder back, you would have to get Jay Crowder in a pick back or something, or another guy with value. So, yeah, it's really up in the air. I don't have a concrete answer yet. The trade deadline is February 9th. So we'll see. Like I said last night, I feel like they can go on a little run here, just looking at some of the opponents they play. And if they start winning again, then it makes Tommy Shepard's job tougher. When they start losing, when they were on that 10-game losing streak, it was like, okay, yeah, fire sale. Just get rid of everybody, trade everybody, rebuild. But that 5-game win streak kind of made things a little weird because you see the potential with this team. You see that they can actually be competitive because the benches, when Rui was out, you saw how important he was. When him and DeLon were out, we just didn't have a lot of firepower from the bench. And Rui came back, and the bench has been a lot better than what it was before.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you mentioned that with the potential that we could go on a run because that goes into the next question. But before we move on to the next question, today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar. Looking for a delicious treat, but don't want all of that fat and calories? Then you got to try a Built Bar. We just got through the holidays. I know my goal is to eat a little healthier this year. Yeah. If you're like me and you want to eat healthier, but don't want to compromise taste, then man, I got just the thing for you. You got to try Built Bar. Built Bar is healthy. Healthy is actually tasty. Seriously, they're so delicious you won't think they're good for you. Perfect for your New Year's resolution. What makes Built Bar so good? Well, for starters, they're all covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. And they come in unbelievably good flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. And what's even better is that they're healthy for you. Only 130 calories and 4 grams of sugar with a whopping 14 grams of protein. So if you are a weightlifter, that is good news for you. And now you don't need to wait around to get a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering your Built Bars at Built.com. Now you can get them at a local Walmart or Sam's Club. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today, walk to the pharmacy section, and grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. If you're close to Sam's Club, run in and grab a 13-bar box with our hit flavors, brownie, batter, and churro. You will thank me later. Built Bar, definitely try out. So going to the next question, and this is from HB. What's going on, man? And his question kind of goes into that. If we go on a run, and indeed this franchise, particularly Tommy, is looking at maybe re-signing Rui and Kuz, do you think that re-signing Rui and Kuz would be a step in the right direction? Where's he hit at with that?
I would love to keep both because they're both good players. Kuz, there's times where he plays at an all-star level. I know he struggled against the Bucks yesterday. A lot of people are down on him. If you look at social media, he's getting a lot of flack for last night because he had a bad game. But then the Kings game, he just had 30. He had 32, and then he had a triple-double against the Bucks the other night. I know Giannis didn't play. But yeah, it all comes down to Ted Leonsis. What does he want to do? I know he wants to duck the luxury tax. He wants to stay under that. And if he is going to go into a luxury tax, is the team going to be competitive enough where it's really worth? Is it really worth to pay these guys for potentially a first round exit? So in a perfect world, yes, you would try to keep KP and Kuz, but just coming down to what Kuz is going to want, because Kuz is going to want $20-25 million. He's playing good ball. I think he's going to make more than $20 million. Just comparing to look at some of the other contracts, you look like DeAndre Hunter, Jeremy Grant, what he's going to get. Harrison Barnes, you look at his contract, you look at Bogdanovich and some other guys that got like $18 million. I think Kuzma is just as good, or if not better. Look at John Collins, he's making $23 million. Kyle Kuzma's playing better than John Collins this year. So I think Kuz definitely deserves more than $20 million for sure. So it's like, are you going to pay him that and pay Rui? And looking at Rui's probably going to make more than, $12-13 million if he plays like this. And then we brought up Porzingis, $30 million. Bill already, $40, $45, $50 million per year. So yeah, it's tough. The Wizards are really in a bind right now. Once again, it's a tough answer that I just don't have because the situation is so tough. Because we're not a clear-cut winning team. If you're the Warriors, then of course I'm going to pay Steph. Of course I'm going to pay Clay. Of course I'm going to pay Draymond. I'm going to pay all these guys, Jordan Poole, Iguodala. I keep paying him to come back every year, even though he's like 40 years old, because we know we're gonna be in championship contention every year. But it's different with the Wizards because you're not anywhere near a championship. You're just not a championship contender right now. You're just not. And is it worth it to bring these guys back, paying them at this rate, and knowing that Ted Leonsis is an owner that is trying to, not penny pinch, but he's trying to be very cost effective and not going all in. So it's like, yeah, we want to see them pick a side. Are you going to go all in or are you going to rebuild? And I think Ted Leonsis, he's just trying to like teeter and tiptoe on, what is he going to do? Are you going to be cost effective or do you really want to pay guys and go all in? And is it really worth it? And right now, I don't think it's worth it because they're not championship contenders. They wouldn't be a championship contender with these guys unless, like you said, we do find a legitimate point guard to make this team better.
Yeah, those are all good points, man. And that's the frustrating part is because you don't know what the long-term vision for this club is, man. You just don't know. And the reluctance of Ted Leonsis going to the luxury tax is bonkers to me. It's bananas, man, because you have to get into the luxury to really build that foundation to be a contender. You have to. It frustrates me because you see the money and the resources going towards his other teams, particularly the Capitals, man. And I don't understand why he's happy. I don't think it's fair to the fan base to be happy with these first round exits, man. I think that every owner, every GM, every coach, every player in the NBA, your vision should be a championship, and that's it. A couple of factors you need to look at also is Gafford. His extension kicks in this year. KP, does he want to come back? Do you really pay Kuz and Rui and you don't have KP? Because what's the point? You're really just paying two guys. You're going to pay Kuz $25 million. And presumably 15 mil to Rui just to be a team that without KP, it's not going to be as good as it is now. I don't understand the vision, man. It's a really hard, like you said, it's a hard question to answer because, even if the best case scenario for the current players we have now. You got Bradley Beal on the Supermax. Yeah, Gafford, his extension kicks in next year, where I believe is around 14 million for this first year of the extension. KP opts in. They don't work out an extension, but he does opt in his player option. Then you re-sign Kuz for 25 million and Rui for 15. Now like you said, that team doesn't propel you to the top 4. So then you're just drowned in salaries. Where it's just I don't, and that's why it's a frustrating answer, man, or question, because you just don't know what the vision is. If they are intent again on building around Bill, then you got to ship one of these guys off. You really do. You just got to be Rui Kuz, and it would be Rui to me. I mean, I like both of them, and it's hard, man, because I am a big fan of both of these guys. I really love Kuz's game coming to DC from LA. I really grown to like him. Like I said, I wasn't a big fan of him in LA. I just wasn't a big fan. But Rui, he's really evolved. The injuries, I get it. He's had injury issues every year, and then I think that's a factor too. The defense, especially what is his long-term fit in the system? Because to me, going into year 3, Wes Unseld has to really double down on this system. If you're here trying to implement a defensive system, then let's implement it, man. It's got to happen because, you got to find the pieces that are going to make this a good defensive team, and really just not known to be a defensive guy. So, if it's time, it might be time to get some value. And like you said with the previous question, man, if it's me, if I'm the general manager of this team, I'm trying to get a starting point guard. So I'm going to ship Monty out. I'm shipping maybe Rui. But if Kuz does not want to stay, then I'm very comfortable still with him, with Rui's, because we hold all the cards with him being a restricted free agent. We can match any offers. So, it really is up to the GM, Tommy. Really, what is his long-term vision for this franchise, man?
Yeah, the only thing is who is the point guard that's going to become available? And, would those guys be enough to bring a point guard in? Monte Morris's trade value isn't very high. Will Barton, I think he's the guy that has to be moved as well. Kuz, and then your picks are tied up there. We got protections on the pick that we gave to the Knicks. The Knicks have the rights to the pick as well. So, the Wizards are in a bind because they can't really trade picks right now. They can't trade a pick until 2028 or something like that. So it's hard because teams right now, they want picks. They want picks more than players. And the Wizards just don't have those assets. You look at Rudy Gobert, what he got traded for. You look at what Donovan Mitchell, what he got traded for, all those picks. And the Wizards just don't have that right now. So, and you got to think about who would really be available. I would love Shai Gilgeous, but I don't think he's going to request a trade. Of course, there's rumblings about Trae Young. We'll see if he requests a trade, because he wasn't getting along with the team and Nate McMillan and the coach and all that. So, reportedly. So, but yeah, if I had to keep one or the other, I probably would keep Kuz because he can do more. He's a better passer. He's a better rebounder. He's more consistent. He's had big games. Rui's had some big games too, but we've seen Kuz more consistently. Last year, he led the team in rebounds and was clutch as well. So if I had to pick one of the two, it's tough. But I probably will roll with Kuz right now.
It's funny you brought up Trae Young's situation in Atlanta, man, because, I mean, star power, that would put people in the seats. But, I mean, the team would be worse defensively. I mean, he's just a non-factor defensively. I mean, he's not even there, man. So, but, I mean, if there's issues in Atlanta, man, because they're sliding a little bit, would you go get Murray? Because Murray's not, because he's not looking good at the 2 spot, man. He's a natural point guard. And it's hard really playing 2 points together. He's a guy who he proved in San Antonio that he got better every year and he can be a floor general. So that may be an option, who knows? So,
we just need somebody to be upset and disgruntled and want to be traded. We don't know who would be next. DeJounte, I wouldn't mind DeJounte. I wouldn't mind Trae Young either. I think the Wizards just need talent. They could definitely use that. I know defensively, a lot of people didn't want Donovan Mitchell last year because they were talking about how bad defensively he was and how short he was. Look at him. He goes out there and scores 71 points.
They want him now.
No. So I wouldn't stick my nose up at talent. People didn't want Kyrie last year. And Kyrie might not have worked out here, but look at the Nets now. They're on a winning streak right now. They're looking good. This is the best the Nets have looked. So it will be an interesting offseason. There's a lot of decisions to make before the trade deadline. So Tommy, he's got a lot of decisions he's got to make.
Absolutely. So before we move on to the next question, we was talking about the GM position. Ed's got an ad from LinkedIn.
Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. As a small business owner or hiring manager, you know that success in 2023 All depends on the team members you surround yourself with. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. With LinkedIn Jobs, you can hire qualified candidates more efficiently by matching open roles with people who have the skills, values, and experiences to help you achieve your goals. LinkedIn Jobs helps you quickly attract qualified candidates to your open jobs with targeting tools. They go beyond resume data by using insights from your job post company and their 875 million member profiles to put your post in front of the most qualified candidates. Identify the most qualified candidates on LinkedIn Jobs and connect with them fast and for free. LinkedIn Jobs makes it easy to screen and rate applicants based on your job qualifications, all on one platform. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number one in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your jobs for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Brandon, we got one more question to knock out, and then we got more questions for tomorrow. We'll do a preview. What's the last question you got?
Yes, sir. This is actually a good one, man. No, they're all good.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I had to catch myself, man. No, I mean, for real though, you guys provide a lot of good questions, man, and that's why when we do the forums at the end of videos, man, it's hard because you want to answer them all. So you guys have been providing a lot of good questions, man. This question is from Merle Garrett. How you doing, man? His question is: should Ted Leonsis look at maybe getting Bob Myers for the general manager position from Golden State to DC, considering, and I know that's a tough question because I don't see them really letting him go, but I think this kind of goes into a deeper question here. And I'm going to change it up real quick. Should the Golden State Warriors and the work that Bob Myers has done from building the inside out be the blueprint for the Washington Wizards? And with me saying that is drafting talent, developing talent, and then going to the luxury or really paying all those guys. Because if you look at Golden State, they drafted Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green was second-round pick. And then when it was time to make that step to contending or challenging for a playoff spot, they had those key acquisitions, whether it was Iguodala, whether it was Kevin Durant. So to you, should Golden State be that blueprint for the Washington Wizards going forward?
100%. Everybody wants to, win that way, especially building through the draft is the way to go, especially for teams in smaller markets like DC. Even though DC really should be a bigger market, it's a big city, it's the nation's capital. It's a historical city, so it's really unfortunate that DC really is a small market now for sports. Same thing with the Commanders is really unfortunate because it's a rich city with rich history. But for teams like us, we're not a free agent destination. We're not going to get a big fish through free agency. Trades, we do make trades, but they're okay trades. Porzingis trade was a good trade. We traded away Russell Westbrook for John Wall, and that trade kind of made an even ending where we got rid of salaries, but it didn't make the team any much better, to be honest with you. So yeah, we're just not going to make big splashes like the Lakers or like you said, Golden State now is a big market. You gotta build through the draft. And you got to hit on your draft picks. And they hit on Steph. They hit on Klay. They hit on Draymond in the second round. They've hit on guys. And, we haven't really been able to do that. We hit on John Wall and Bradley Beal. That didn't work. Got to the second round. That was our ceiling. But they got a generational guy in Steph Curry. And they got one of the best 3-point shooters in the history of the NBA, and Klay Thompson as well. So they just knocked the draft out of the park. And when you hit on the second round pick, a glue guy like Draymond who fits, their GM has done a heck of a job. And then you got guys like Kevin Durant who see that, who really had an opportunity to come to DC when John Wall and Bradley Beal were balling, but he decided to join. If you can't beat him, join him type of situation. That's what he did. But yes, the Warriors are the blueprint for everybody. You want to build to the draft. You look at the Bucks, they hit on Giannis, they hit on Middleton. So they're a championship contender. The Sixers had to trust the process. They tanked a couple years. And they got Joel Embiid. He's one of the best big men. He is arguably the best big man in the league right now. Just looking at other contenders right now. The Nets, they built their team through trades. But for the most part, you look around the league, it's kind of through the draft. So I kind of want to look at the teams who are at the top of the league right now, just real quick in the standings. But yeah, like I said, the Bucks, they drafted Giannis. He was a late round pick, so I'm not going to say they got lucky. But yeah, that doesn't happen a lot. Boston, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they drafted both those guys, and they're championship contenders. Cleveland, Evan Mobley, They drafted him, Darius Garland. So yeah, that's where your foundation starts. You start at Dallas, or Jokic, Denver, drafting Jokic in the second round. You just look at Michael Porter Jr. He's been a good draft. But Jamal Murray, they're number one in the Western Conference. Their best players are their draft picks. So Ja Morant with Memphis, their best player. A big reason why Dylan Brooks, Jaren Jackson. So the list goes on and on. The Pelicans are the third seed. Zion Williamson, he's a big reason why. But you can say, too, like Brandon Ingram on that team, he hasn't played much. They traded for him. So, yes, it goes both ways, but it has to start with a draft. You got to get you have to get a number one. Your number one guy, your number two guy has to be built from the draft. And when the Wizards were at their best, it was through the guys that they drafted. So, yes, the Warriors definitely set the blueprint with their draft picks for sure.
Absolutely. They are absolutely the blueprint. You have to have a foundation, a young foundation to build upon and develop. It is often said that a house built man will not stand, man. And that's it. You have to have a young foundation to build upon. Stephen Curry, if you look at him, he had his injury issues early on, a lot of ankle injuries. They developed him. And not, he wasn't a complete package. He was always a shooter, going back to Davidson. And I mean, it's in the blood, man. If you look at his dad and his brother, man, they're just shooters. But they developed him. Clay, he coming out of Washington State, he wasn't a complete package. They developed him. Draymond, second round pick. We don't value second round picks. I mean, we barely have any respect for first round picks. It has to get better with drafting, man. The drafting goes way back. We keep talking about our draft picks we missed on Kwame Brown. And, talking about Kwame a little bit, man, I feel like Kwame wasn't developed. I don't think Kwame was a bad pick. I think he wasn't developed. I think, he came into a team with MJ where there was no room for developing players. He was trying to mold us into a playoff team, and it just wasn't happening, man. But you got your Jan Vesleys, your Singletons, it's just the list goes on. You have to draft for your system. You can't draft for best player available. You can get away with that in football. Football, you can get away with that. You can get a guy who's an athlete in the draft, and you go from there. But you can't do that in basketball. You gotta draft these guys to fit a system. And if you really want to make this a defensive minded team, then you have to draft guys who can defend. And if you look at the last 4 draft picks, the only one that really can defend at a high level is Denny. That's it. I mean, Johnny Davis has shown at Wisconsin that he could defend, but I mean, defense ain't really his problem right now, so he's not even thinking about that. But we have to have a foundation. So you mentioned a lot of good teams. Cleveland's another one. You build from the inside up. You draft, you develop, and then when it's time to compete, then you get those moves. If you look at Cleveland, you brought it up. Donovan Mitchell was that move. Golden State, KD or Iguodala was that move to push him over the top, that veteran presence. We got to stop trying to mold teams on the go by combining young assets with veterans, when roles aren't really defined and there's really no room for growth. Because a lot of these young guys, we put them in the fire early on, and to a certain degree, they've responded well. I mean, you see growth from every one of them except for Johnny Davis, obviously, but you do see growth. Now, you do want more from Denny as far as his shot, but in this, that has to be the blueprint. And it's just like you said, before we roll, man, it's difficult, man, because you just don't know what the vision is. If we're talking about a rebuild, then this is a conversation we need to have because we know where to start. But if we're going to build around build, that's a hard question, man. So, but it's a good question, man. We definitely appreciate everybody's questions. We're going to be doing another mailbag, so definitely shoot us your best questions. So,
one last thing I'll say. Yeah, sometimes going best player available, it is the best option because, if you look at this draft, I think Jalen Duren was probably the best player available at that spot. But, of course, like you said, fit, we already had Gav, we had Porzingis. But you can use a stronger big down there because we've been getting torched in the paint, and I think he definitely could have helped with that. Or you look at Halliburton 2 years ago, we drafted Denny, who's a good player. But, I think at that time, Halliburton was the best player available. But a lot of teams missed on him, too, Tyrese Maxey, too. So, yeah, it's a weird science with the draft. This year, there's just so much talent. So this year, I would just get best player available, honestly. The most talented player, I would just go ahead and get him.
Yeah, and I get that. The flip side of the coin, I get that with the argument about best player available. I get that. Man, can you imagine? I'm going to paint this picture for you. Halliburton starting at the point, Bill at 2 guard with Duren at center. That's an athletic team, man. I mean, I was big on Duren at Memphis, man. I think, he was a good pick. But, before we roll, like I said, definitely appreciate everybody's feedback, questions, man. Definitely send them. We're going to do much more mailbag episodes. So thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen today. Now make your second listen. Game to game, Eastern Conference. Every moment, every top performance, every result. Locked On Game to Game covers every game from across the Eastern Conference and the NBA with local analysis that only Locked On can deliver. Follow Game to Game on Locked On Eastern Conference and NBA, available on Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. We are really close to 3,000 subscribers on YouTube, y'all. So definitely show some love, like, subscribe, and definitely comment below. Twitter and Instagram, me and my dude, the real Ed Oliver. We chop it on with game days, and we always talking about any kind of news when it comes to Wizards or even the NBA and the NFL. So definitely holler at us. And again, appreciate everybody's time today. Hope everybody have a blessed rest of the day and